If we look out to 2,000 years from now, and you have to actually, I just want you to go through this with me here, go through this thought experiment with me. So the thought experiment would be, if you looked out 2,000 years from now, because we're living in the year 2025, so 2,000 years after death, that's kind of the time horizon that we're on right now. And throughout those 2,000 years, you have, and that's only 2,000 years out of hundreds of thousands of millions of years before that. But we've never had the ability to capture history. We've never had the ability to transport information and preserve information and knowledge into the future before Bitcoin. But now you can not only transact on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network, but you can inscribe things into it. And so we can now record history, or whoever's perspective of history, whatever you want to call that, regardless if it's right or wrong, it cannot be changed. And if you don't understand that, I would encourage you to take a little bit more time and look into why that's possible with Bitcoin, why it's impossible to go back and change a transaction, and why it's impossible to go back and change and delete anything from the Bitcoin network, the time chain of Bitcoin. And I would say that that's the biggest thing in the world right now that nobody is talking about. The fact that you cannot go back and change history. So whatever happens going forward now, there's no way for anybody to alter that. And the implications of that on a society are massive. So again, I don't know if Satoshi will be like the new Jesus Christ, but I do think that Michael Saylor said this. He said that there will come a day where everything before Bitcoin is considered to be bullshit. And I believe that. I really do. Because we can't go back and verify anything. We've heard stories, we've read books, we have history as we know it, as it's taught in schools, but we know that the history taught in schools is absolute bullshit. But now we have the ability to record history, and then that cannot be changed. And that is bigger than any of us even know at this point. So will Satoshi be the new Jesus Christ? Probably not. But I do think that like 2009, January 3rd, 2009, will be like the new before Christ and after death moment when we look back 2,000 years from now. I really believe that. And again, if you don't understand that, if you don't understand why Bitcoin is immutable, why you cannot change Bitcoin, I would encourage you to take a little bit of time and figure out why. And I'll give you a really quick reason for why that is. Because when something's added into a block, let's bring up the mempool here, and I'll do my best to explain what I mean here. Okay, so when you look at what happened there, when you look at one of these blocks here, so this, you can see this line here. So anytime you send a Bitcoin transaction, it goes into the mempool. It goes into the left side over here. Oh, you can't even see my mouse. These green ones over here. You can see that dotted line in the middle. When you send a Bitcoin transaction, it goes into the mempool there on the left side. And it'll sit there until one of the miners puts it into a block. So when that block is mined, when it goes from green into purple there, that block has been mined. So you can see that the last block that was mined was block 891936. So that basically means that since January 3rd, 2009, there's been 891,936 blocks mined. Each one of those blocks contains a bunch of transactions and a bunch of data. And every time that a new block is mined, the new copy of the Bitcoin time chain or the ledger, all of these transactions, the updated version gets broadcast to every single computer out there, 25,000 of them today, that are running a Bitcoin node. And Bitcoin nodes are basically just keeping a copy of all these transactions from January 3rd, 2009. So once that blockchain is updated and that's broadcast to all those different nodes around the world, You cannot change that because you would have to go to every single one of those nodes if you wanted to erase something or change a transaction or anything. You'd have to go to every single one of those nodes and ask them to change that. And that would probably take you 3 years. And by that time, there will be tens of thousands of blocks, new blocks that have been mined. And then you'd have to go back and change all those ones again. So that's why any transactions, any information that's inscribed into Bitcoin cannot be changed. And that has a massive implications on history and knowledge and our society. So it's pretty cool. Again, I think that that's the most under talked about and underappreciated aspect of Bitcoin. Besides the fact that it's a better money, it's a better store of value. Nobody can change it. Nobody can control it. Nobody can print more of it. Um, there's so many, very underappreciated aspects of Bitcoin, but the fact that you cannot change it and you cannot change history and anything that's inscribed into the Bitcoin blockchain is to me the biggest and most underappreciated aspect of it. I don't know. I don't know where to go from there. Should we shut her down?